expansion week with a little bit of work and attention on balance. Now, balance is very personal. So if you're feeling a little off balance, it might show up on the mat. But conversely, if you practice finding balance and core strength physically, that will often translate and help you find more balance in your life off the mat. So I'd like to begin in a really strong grounding position, our yoga squat. It's familiar to you. Today you can follow Ted for modifications. He'll be using a block, and Vitas will be showing a version with a towel. I'll be showing the full version, which you might be ready for now. So we'll step the feet a little wider than the hips, right at the center of your mat. Slight turn out, toes wide, and come on down to your squat. You want to be sure you're feeling grounded here, right? A connection with the earth, as if we're growing roots so that we can then rise up. Hands to the heart center. Just take a moment, you can close your eyes here and just feel your body. Nice big inhale. Nice deep exhale. And as you breathe here, on each exhale, I'd like you to release attachment to having the perfect balancing pose. Half of our work in balance is learning how to fall and get back up. So it's all part of the challenge. I'd like you to be willing to join me, tip over, maybe even face plant a few times, get back up, all about the practice. So one more breath here, nice deep lift through the spine, a little bit of openness in the heart as your elbows guide your hips open. Exhale, connect to your strong core. Come all the way up to stand. Let's go ahead and step to the front of our mat and we'll begin. As always, nice stability in the legs, feet hip width. Our foundation for balance always starts at the feet, moves up through the hips onto the core. So hands to the heart. Let's go ahead and take a half sun salute. Soft knees. On the inhale, reach up tall as if you were lengthening through the spine, creating space in the low back. On the exhale, leading with the heart, dive forward, arms wide. Knees probably soft this first one. You can drop the head. On the inhale, let's lengthen to our flat back. So here, we really want to think about drawing that heart center forward and lengthening the spine. And whenever we do that, naturally by now, you might feel your abdominals draw in for that great core strength. All right, let's come back to chair pose. Take a forward fold first, get a little space in the hamstrings. And then drop the hips low, engage the belly, and let's lift up to chair. So by now, we're familiar with chair, and we know even the pose itself is not static, right? There's always dynamic movement as each exhale draws our hips a little lower. Each inhale lifts our heart and lengthens our spine. Each exhale connects us a little more to the core and draws us deeper into that strong foundation. Let's learn a little flow here. On your next exhale, join us to fold forward, legs still in chair. Heart can rest on the thighs. Arms reach back, palms face you. And then ride that inhale all the way up to stand. See if you can get a little taller each time for 2 more. On the exhale, shift the weight back, nice low chair. Just allow the heart to melt, a little bit of free flow here, so let it feel good for your body. Inhale, reach up to rise, even a little more space. 1 more. Hips drop low, heart melts forward, arms reach back. Weight in the heels on the inhale, lift up, tall stance. Now you can stay with Ted and do 3 more like that, or you can join me for a little more advanced option. Let's come back down to chair. You might be ready to challenge yourself. We're going to try 3 times, same fold with the upper body, but staying low, strong, and grounded in those legs. Exhale, fold forward in your chair, arms reach back. Stay low in the hips, strong in the core. Inhale, lift. 2 more. Exhale, any resistance to staying strong in the pose. Inhale, a willingness to challenge yourself and find your edge. 1 more. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lift. Can you hold chair with me for 1 solid breath? 1 inhale. Deep exhale. And then on the inhale, come all the way up to stand, maybe feeling a little taller, hopefully a little stronger in the legs. Dive forward. So we're going to make our way to plank pose and start to set up for a really important posture, warrior 3. On the inhale, lift to your flat back. Take 1 more strong inhale here, creating as much space in your low back as you can. And we want to take that same alignment into plank. So soften the knees, plant the palms, and one leg at a time, being precise with your alignment, step it back to a nice full plank. You know you can follow Ted by dropping to the knees and adding a little extra support. I'd like you to try to expand your awareness of plank and join Vitas and I for at least 1 or 2 breaths in the full version if it feels safe before coming down to the knees. And now we begin to breathe. I want you to think about the dynamic energy in plank because there's no stillness of the body in yoga. Stillness happens in the mind, but the body's always moving with the breath. So even here, on the inhale, the heels press back, the heart moves forward, the crown of the head lengthens. And on the exhale, we engage the belly and find a little bit of softness as the heart center melts gently between the gateway of the shoulder blades. And I know this is becoming really challenging for me as well, but it's important that we build strength by moving through that challenge. Let's try 3 more breaths. I want you to inhale, find as much space between the heels and the crown of the head as you can. On the exhale, a deep connection to those strong abdominals we've been building. 1 more breath. Embrace the shaky legs, embrace the shaky arms. That just means our body is being challenged and changing to absorb the new strength. And then let's go ahead and come to tabletop position. So you drop to the knees and you'll likely need to readjust your hands. You want to have the shoulders over elbows over wrists. By now, we're very familiar with this pose. It's a great preparation for Warrior 3. So let's find that spine we've been working on. Navel in. It's almost as if the front ribs were drawing toward the front hips and the abdominals were drawing in toward the spine. And then physiologically, the counter stretch to that is that the low back lengthens. Now, we never want to sacrifice the length of the low back. Let's extend the leg closest to me, press back through the heel, engage the abs. And even before you lift the leg, you feel the engagement of the gluteus maximus, right? Activate that along with the core, and without thinking about height, just lift that back leg maybe an inch. All of a sudden, all my back body muscles seem to fire up, from my hamstring to my gluteal, which are primary movers in lifting the leg, all the way through my abdominals that exist on my low back, and even the middle and upper back muscles. So let's try 1 more breath here, and then we're going to remove a point of stability, come to fingertips of the back hand, and reach that arm forward, keeping the shoulder relaxing away from the ear. And then as much dynamic energy as you can place between that back heel and the front fingertips. Give me 1 inhale, and essentially from the back heel to the front fingertips, you're in Warrior 3, only we'll be standing instead of being on the knee. So I want you to have confidence that you've built the musculature needed for this pose. Hand down, knee down, trying the same thing on the other side. On an inhale, press back through the back leg. Activate that strong and beautiful core. Take the opposite arm forward as you float the back leg. And breathe. Notice where you feel this. I like to press down into the kneeling shin. It helps me activate the gluteals of that lifting leg a little more. And nice, lifted, rounded, shapely gluteals never hurt anyone. It's great to have, right? We want to complement all the great front body strength we have with a balanced strength in the back body. Hand down, knees down. Let's go ahead and sit back on the heels for a moment and we're ready to balance. We're going to start in down dog, hands wide, feet hip width. Curl over the toes and find your best downward facing dog. It's likely to look and feel different than the first downward dog you did over a week ago, so just observe a few breaths here. On the exhale, I'd like you to drop the head. I'd like you to empty the brain. Remind yourself that your self-worth does not depend on your ability to stand on 1 leg. We're just going to give it a try. Let's lift both heels. Bend the knees, look forward between the hands and see if you can take a nice big step to the front of the mat. On the inhale, lift and lengthen through that spine. By now we know to find as much space as we can. Exhale, soften the knees, hands down, fingertips, and I'd like you to step back with the leg farthest from me. We're going to lift up into Crescent Warrior. Soften the back knee as needed. Climb up to the thighs first. Shoulders relax down the back. The back knee can be as soft as needed till you feel your core engage. And then from here, bring the hands to the hips. Already a balance challenge. We're going to try to move that front leg towards straight. Now, I want you to think about targeting the abs and squaring the hips. So if you have your hands on your hips and you pointed your index fingers forward, they would face the front of the mat. Great. Now we're ready to approach Warrior 3. From here, hinge forward from the hips with your heart center facing the mat. So parallel to the earth. Soften that front knee. Engage the belly. We're going to keep our hands on our hips. Ted is going to move his hands to his blocks. Shift the weight to the front leg and use the back foot as a kickstand for a moment. See if you can feel the pinky toe of the back foot press down. That will know that our hips are square. Engage the abs, and then same thing we just did on hands and knees. Try to float up off that back leg. So now, in addition to my abs, the length in the back, and the strength in the gluteals, I'm feeling a lot of work in that standing hip. Let's try one breath here. If your legs are wobbly, it's all good. Come on up to stand. Keep the hands on the hips. Nice. So you've now done your first Warrior 3. It's an incredibly advanced pose. We're going to try it on the other side. Soften the knees. Let's inhale, lift up. See if we can find any more space in that low back. Soften the knees, dive forward. Drop the head, get a little space. Get a moment to clear your brain. On the inhale, lift to your flat back. And on the exhale, step back with the opposite leg. We're going to take a nice deep breath here. Engage the belly, soften the back knee as needed, and climb up the thigh. Shoulders relax, abdominals draw in. Great work. From here, move that front leg towards straight. It's pretty challenging to do, staying high on those back toes. I'm going to move my hands to the hips. I'm going to draw that front hip forward slightly so that when I point my index fingers, they face straight ahead rather than out at a diagonal. From here, soften that front knee enough that you can hinge forward. Here's a great place to find the length in the spine, connection to the core. Soften that front knee, and then see if you can take flight. You can use that front foot as a kickstand. Engage the belly, lift the back leg. Square off the hips. Activate the abs. Using blocks if needed. If you're with me, keep the hands to the hips. And I want you to just check in with where you feel the work. Try one more breath. Rather than thinking of lifting the leg, think about energetically pressing that leg back and come up to stand. Great, we're going to shake it out, and now we're going to take a pose that's been my nemesis. It's a standing twist. We're going to try it on both sides. You might feel differently side to side, but it'll give you a nice counterbalance to that Warrior 3. I want you to go ahead and get solid and grounded on both feet. Activate the belly, important part of our balance, and then draw the knee in that's closest to me and just give it a little hug. If we have core stabilization, it helps. Let's take that front hand to the hip. See if you can grow 1 inch taller, which is always the first step of any twist, and then turn the heart center. Nice. So even my ankle is wobbling around, and that's just our stabilizers at work, right? We don't want to work just our glamour muscles, the quads and the glutes and the abs. We want to work those muscles, ligaments, and tendons that keep our joints safe and our body mobile. So for the last couple of breaths, if you want to work on expansion, you can extend that arm back, maybe even shift your gaze if you like. That usually knocks me over, and then come on up to stand. So whether you fell 100 times or you just nailed it, all part of the practice. The other side for me tends to be a little more challenging, which means it's even more important that I practice my weaker side to turn it into my strength. So let's go for it. I'm going to stand on the opposite leg. Just hug the knee in. It's a nice low back stretch here. Engage those abs and move toward your twist. You bring the hand to the hip and you gently turn the torso. I always try to laugh or smile anytime I tip over. It happens enough that that's always a good practice. Good. Just 1 or 2 more breaths here. Allow the wobbling in the ankle. Know that your body's making changes to contribute to your health. And for the last couple of breaths, if you'd like to expand that arm, it's just another variation. Try 2 breaths here. 1 more. Come back to center and stand. All right, we're going to shake it out a little bit, right? You might feel your ankles, your shins, important parts of our body to keep it safe and stable. Let's try Warrior 3 one more time. We'll add a little flow beforehand to loosen us up. Feet hip width, Soft knees, inhale, reach up, lead with the heart center. Exhale, dive forward to find a little bit more space in the low back and hamstrings. Drop the head. On the inhale, lift to your flat back. And on the exhale, step back with the leg farthest from me. We're gonna soften that back knee enough that we can lift up to a nice, healthy crescent pose. Engage the belly. Similar flow to what we did when we did our chair flow. We're gonna stay low in the legs. Exhale, fold forward, reaching the heart forward before surrendering the heart down and the arms back. On the inhale, sweep that heart high. Straighten the front leg. And back to crescent. We'll try that 2 more times. Exhale, reach forward. Surrender the heart. On the inhale, ride that breath back to crescent. Straighten that front leg. And 1 more round. Get nice and low in the crescent. Ride that exhale forward. Take a moment to surrender. Just breathe. Inhale, lift to crescent. Straighten that front leg. And let's try warrior 3 again. We're gonna start in crescent. I'm gonna bring my hands to the heart center again. Start to hinge forward. You're welcome to use the blocks, or this time, take a leap of faith all the way up to that warrior 3. I keep a softness in my standing leg. It's important for stability and also to keep tension out of the low back. Now, if you'd like to work on expanding, we open the arms. We just did 1 arm at a time. Now we're trying both. Get a nice, beautiful wingspan as if you were taking flight. Come all the way up to stand on both legs. Whew, really feeling that work. Let's get right to the other side. Soft knees. Inhale, reach up, and just take a moment feeling great about yourself for being willing to try something so challenging. Exhale, dive forward. I know plenty of people who go through their whole life without ever coming out of their comfort zone. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Let's hold this pose for just a moment to remind ourselves of the low back length. Right, and if we never fall down and never tip over, we're not doing anything very interesting. So soften the knees, hands down. Step back with the other leg. Engage your core. You can follow Ted with a soft back knee and rise all the way up to crescent. Let's come right into our flow. Reaching forward, finding space. Exhale, surrender, arms back. On the inhale, we always go with the breath. Rise that heart center up. Straighten that front leg. And back to crescent. Let's try 2 more. Reach forward. Exhale, surrender, arms back. Inhale, lift up to crescent. And straighten that front leg. 1 more. Bend the knee. Reach forward and ask yourself, what are you reaching for? What are your goals, your aspirations? Exhale, surrender. Trust. Everything is as it's meant to be. Even falling down, lift it back up. Straighten that front leg 1 more time. Last chance to try warrior 3 today. Go ahead and find that crescent. Hands to the heart or to your blocks. Shift your weight forward and just trust. Good. You know you can always catch yourself with your hands. Engage the belly. Hands to the heart, square off the hip. And we don't think about the height of the back leg. We think about energetically pressing back and then creating just a little lift from that strong gluteals. We've got 2 breaths if you want to play with that expansion. Open up, spread your wings, take a leap of faith. Everything is on course. 1 last inhale. Come all the way up to stand. All right, the hardest part of that is over. Let's go ahead and stand just right in the middle of our mat here, and we're gonna try tree pose. Again, a familiar pose, again, a challenging balance for me, but that makes it all the more important to work on. So we'll bring our feet together this time, outer edges parallel. I want you to get strong in that left leg. Activate the belly, hands to the hips. A modified option if you're a little tired from balancing is to lift the heel of the right leg and just externally rotate the hip. Now we want to be sure that we don't allow our sit bones to sneak back. Abdominals draw in, tailbone lengthens down, and we root down in the standing leg to rise up. Okay? From there, you know a few more options. You can take the foot to the calf, as long as it stays below the knee. No lateral pressure on the knee. Next level, of course, is to reach all the way up for that full tree pose. And you can bring the hands to the heart. right? And one of the important things to remember here is that we want to press the thigh into the foot rather than pushing the foot into the thigh. That will help with stability. And just a couple of breaths here. Try one more breath. And then we'll go ahead and come on up to stand. So these balances get harder after we've already stood on one leg for so long. So let's try the other side. Give yourself permission to fall and forgive yourself if you do. It's all a part of the learning process. So you can feel free to open up that hip and stay here with the modified option. Be careful that you're not sinking into that right hip, that you're pressing down to the inner edge of the foot, engaging the belly and lifting up out of the right hip. And then you can place the left foot below the knee or above the knee. And again, just beginning to breathe. Hands to the heart, core strong. If you find a focal point for your eyes, something straight ahead that's stationary that you can look at, that often helps with balance. Just 2 more breaths. I'm feeling wobbly too. Try to breathe through it. Well done. Let's go ahead and come on up to stand. Always a big relief when we finished up those balancing poses. So now we're going to gently move toward a little last core work before bringing it down. Step to the front of the mat. Soft knees. Engage the abs, roll the shoulder blades down the back. Take a nice, strong vinyasa here. You'll have a few options which you've learned. Let's go through it together. On the inhale, start to reach the arms high and wide. Heart rises. See if you can lift up, take a little more length in the spine, and then take all that length as you dive forward, leading with the heart, arms wide, hands down. Drop the head for a moment here. I'm going to take a few breaths here. You can shake out the head, and I'd like you to look inward. Honor yourself. Challenging class today, not just physically, mentally. Go ahead and lift to your flat back. By now, you might even feel like your spine is a bit longer. Soften the knees, plant the palms, and step back to your plank. So you can follow Ted for the more modified version, or if you feel ready, staying in high plank. Shift the heart forward, elbows shave the sides of the ribs, chaturanga, lower down all the way to the mat, uncurl the toes. And you can lift either to cobra or press into the palms and the tops of the feet only and lift it up through upward facing dog. Let's take a moment here. So when we have that flexion in the ankles for all those standing balances, it's a nice position to hold because we're getting a counter stretch for the front of the ankles. See if you can lift up a little deeper, really open up that heart to new experiences, which we've been practicing all of class. From here, go ahead and drop to the knees. Let's take a child's pose, hips back, arms reach forward. And again, our body moves dynamically in 2 directions, even in a pose that might look still. Your hips draw back and your arms reach, finding space across your lats, which are part of your core in the expanded definition, all the way through the side waist, the low back. And just a moment to breathe. I love child's pose. It's a prostrate position, a position that's traditionally symbolic of honoring. And in this case, we're honoring the self, which is the foundation of being able to honor others. So let's go ahead and find down dog. I'm going to teach you some fun hip variations. Up and back down dog. If you're very tight, that's okay. We don't want to skip these stretches. We want to utilize them to help build our flexibility, and you'll follow Ted. So from here, engage that core. I'd like you to lift your left leg up, and don't worry about the height. We're keeping a square hip for a pose called down dog split. Engage the abs, press back through the heel, and from the hip to the heel, it's about that same alignment as our warrior 3. From here, we're going to try to keep the heart center square toward the mat, but turn the hips open slightly. If you're a little bit tight, it won't look like too much of a difference, but if you're more flexible in this open hip position, you'll be able to drop the head, reach up through those pointed feet, and find a little more space. And wherever you are is the perfect place. From here, if you haven't already, let's bend that lifted knee and just take some hip circles around. I really love these movements that just allow our body to feel good. So there's no attachment to what this looks like. There's only an awareness of what this feels like. One more breath, and then reach up to your down dog split. And let's come forward to plank. Bring the knee to the nose, round the back like we do in cat stretch. Activate the belly. I feel a nice spreading between my shoulder blades. And inhale up and back, down dog split. 2 more. Exhale, activate the full core around the back body. Pull that knee in. And inhale up and back, down dog split. 1 more. Bring the knee to the nose. Exhale, round the back. Contract. Inhale, press back. Reach, lengthen, expand. Both feet down. Take a moment in child's pose. And again, our purpose today is to get out of the ego, feel our body. And I want to complement all those strong balances with some fluidity, some openness in those strong hips which supported us. So let's go ahead and come back to down dog, and we try the other side. No one is perfectly symmetrical, which means that all of us will feel a little bit of difference between the right or the left. Might be subtle, might be major. Just something to observe. So keeping the hips square. So the sacrum stays level for the first one as you lift the right leg back. Square hip, down dog split. So a little more about the core, which is drawing in. A lot of energy in the glutes and hamstrings, which you can utilize to think about pressing the leg back and lifting it maybe a little higher. And then from here, begin to open the hip. Remember, it might be subtle, it might reach long. We always remember I grew up dancing ballet, so this position of an open hip is very comfortable for me. If you're an elite athlete, it might be very challenging for you because we all have body differences. From here, you can bend the knee, and however feels good, just circle around that hip. Maybe your hip circles feel big and expansive today. Maybe you're a little tight and they're small. The important thing is that you're moving with your breath. If you feel any pops, right, it's your body just adjusting to the newfound lubrication and flexibility in that hip. Let's go ahead and take that leg high 3 times into that core work. Exhale, knee to the nose, round the back, press up between the shoulders. Inhale, reach for whatever space you can find. Exhale, knee to the nose, round that spine. Inhale, up and back. 1 more chance. As you exhale, get small, contract the abdominals, press down in the palms, and then inhale, your most expansive pose so far. Reach, reach, reach. Both feet down, hip width. Come down to the knees for child's pose stretch. In this child's pose, I'd like you to roll out the wrists, right? It's quite a lot of hand positions in planks and down dogs. We're going to finish up with a few quick stretches. Ted is going to sit on a block. Let's all come up to sit back on the heels. After all those planks and down dogs, I would just like to open up the heart, okay? An expansion in the heart center. So take that front hand back, press down into the shins. You want to keep the core a bit active here as you reach the opposite arm forward, up, and into a nice deep back bend. Feel a stretch across your chest, across your core. And again, just feel good. Inhale, reach. However this feels right for you. Come back through center. Sweep it right around to the other side. Reach and take up space. It's important in this world that we share our gifts, we shine our light, we take up space. And that's what we practice in this expansion week. Expanding, growing, evolving, breathing. Come back to sit. Just for fun, as a reward, we're going to finish with a little sexy cow, and then we're going to come up to a nice tall seat. So let's find hands and knees. You can do sexy cow side to side, or you can expand that sexy cow and get that entire body. So mobility in the core, strength in the core, rotation, side bending, almost like a little back massage from the inside out. I'll switch directions, go up and around the other way. All that nice deep breath. 1 more big hip circle. And come back to sit on the heels and come join me in a nice comfortable seat. Wow, I'm feeling challenged, but even in this quick workout, I'm already feeling stronger, more centered, and proud of myself for being